Officer Dieppa, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Now, you arrested Carlos Miller on this case?
No, I did not.
Okay. You did not effectuate the arrest?
No, I did not.
You testified about all the events that happened that night. How many officers were there?
I don't have the exact count, but over 50 police officers.
Okay, all right. And they all saw the same things you saw, right?
Not everybody was privy to all the things I were. There was officers that were staged in different locations.
You were actually right next to Nancy Perez when Carlos Miller was arrested?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you generate a report in this case?
No, I did not.
Okay. So, you effectuated the arrest, or you participated in the arrest, you were near Mr. Miller during when he was being arrested, and you didn't memorialize your impressions anywhere?
I personally participated in an after-action report that summarized the entire incident from day one in October through the last day on January 31st.
Specifically as to the criminal act that Mr. Miller's charged with, you didn't document what it is that he did that led you to believe that it was a criminal act. You didn't put it in any reports.
I did not know.
Okay. Now, your job that day was to clear protesters from the government center, correct?
That was one of our responsibilities.
Okay. Now, you just said, at some point, you said that their protest became unlawful?
Yes.
Right, well, you don't know that that was unlawful. Somebody told you that, right?
Clarify me if I'm wrong. There was a permit. Permit expired. I was given a copy of a letter by the building manager of the government center, Juan Silva, asking the police department to clear the lot and advising that anybody that remains there is basically trespassing.
Okay, as to the government center, correct?
On the west lot, correct.
Okay. When people left the government center, they made their way onto the sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
And onto the streets. Okay. You still continue to tell them to leave the area.
Correct.
Okay. And you did that for a bunch of blocks. In fact, there was about 2 or 3 blocks, I think 3 blocks specifically that you mentioned there in that diagram.
There's not 3 blocks away from the government center, but 3 different blocks.
3 different blocks, okay. At the point that they're on Northwest 1st and 3rd Avenue, is that what we're looking at here on this video?
What you're looking at on the video is Northwest 1st Street, 3rd Avenue would be where you see the red
I'm
lights.
sorry, 1st Street, right, okay. And that's not the government center? That's not the
The
government
government
center?
center is on 1st Street and Northwest 2nd Avenue.
Right. But the sidewalk you guys are standing on, that's not the government center?
No, that's not.
Okay. And the street that these people are on, the public street, that's not the government center? Obviously.
No, that's the street.
Okay. Now, you didn't have any personal contact with Mr. Miller that night?
Only when he was being arrested did I give direction to 2 officers that were part of the deployment force to arrest him.
Okay. Other than the arrest, you didn't have any contact with Mr. Miller that night?
No, I did not.
So the first time you actually made any contact with him was right before he was arrested?
To the best of my recollection, that's the first and only time I had any contact with him. Obviously, you can see that he was present there in front of me, but
Now, you gave a general dispersement order on the Bullhorn to a group of people,
yes,
right? Nothing specifically to Mr. Miller, correct?
Mr. Miller was part of the group of people.
Specifically to Mr. Miller, you didn't say anything to him specifically. Mr. Miller, or sir, will come over here, move. The order was general.
I did
Agree with that?
not name the name correct.
Okay. Now, a lot of these protesters, not everybody had cameras, right?
Yes,
Cell phone cameras.
there were several cameras.
Okay, Mr. Miller seems to have a lot more than that. He seems to have media equipment. You would agree with that?
I saw video cameras and a still camera.
Okay. So, but he had a lot more on him than most of the people did at that protest. He didn't have any swords, right?
Objection, counsel's testifying. cross-examination, wide latitude,
I
overruled.
mean, there's a picture of a guy in there that's protesting that has a sword in his backpack. You didn't see Mr. Miller with a sword, did you?
I didn't see with the sword, no.
There was pictures of people holding bull horns and screaming things through the bull horns, correct?
Yes, there was.
Mr. Miller wasn't doing that, was he?
No, he was not.
Okay, he was holding a camera.
Yes, he was.
And the times that you saw him in that video that you just indicated to the jury, that's all he was doing, was holding a camera.
He was holding a camera, and the one thing that would stick out to me through my training and experience, he was also wearing a black bandana over his face, which
Okay, you guys used tear gas, right? You guys have used tear gas before?
the department has used tear gas.
And you were prepared, because this could turn into something crazy and something violent. You were prepared to use tear gas that night, correct?
I believe somebody had tear gas, but I personally never did not have tear gas with me.
Okay, right. The people you guys were prepared to use tear gas if necessary, if things got out of control.
Like I said, I believe that somebody there did have, somebody that worked for me did have tear gas.
So it was a general understanding by the protesters, by the media, by the police officers that were there, that tear gas might be used.
There was a possibility.
Okay. And so, other than being protected from the tear gas, you don't know that he was going to do anything else with that bandana. Do you know?
I don't know yes, and I don't know no.
Because the state asked you the question about the bandana, almost trying to imply that he was
Objection, counsel is testifying.
Overruled, this is cross-examination.
trying to imply that he's some kind of terrorist because he's wearing the bandana, but there's a very reasonable explanation for that. He could just be wanting to protect himself from the tear gas that could fall in his direction when he's videotaping all these things.
It could be, what I would explain to you is in my experience and training in the RDF, people that are law-abiding do not normally wear black bandanas over their face.
That's your opinion.
That's my training and experience, that through several different protests and riot type situations have been, that the average
Okay.
person that's walking the streets doesn't put a black bandana over there.
Okay, specifically an arrest that was made where somebody who was wearing a bandana that was a terrorist in
I'm
the
sorry.
city.
Objection,
Specifically, do you
Mr.
recall
Chairman.
an arrest that you made?
I recall the free trade area of the Americas, which happened in 2003, November, in downtown, the city of Miami. I was a field force commander for that situation. We arrested several people that wore black masks over them and basically fought with the police on Biscayne Boulevard.
There's nothing illegal about wearing a bandana over your face, is there?
Not a bandana,
Okay.
in general like that, no.
Okay. And that's what he did that night. He wore a bandana and he videotaped you guys.
Yes.
Now, specifically, remarks that were made by Mr. Miller that were protests. Because this was a protest, and you were directing the protesters. Identify them for us, please.
I'm sorry?
Well, the protests that Mr. Miller was making, the chants that he was involved in, specifically, what were they?
I could not give you specifics of anything that Mr. Miller said.
But you mind if I cue this up for a second?
No problem.
Now, this guy, he seems like he's protesting, right?
He's on a microphone, yes.
Okay. You didn't see Mr. Miller doing that day, did you?
No, I did not.
On Northwest 2nd Avenue. You are hereby trespassing and will be arrested
who that is?
No, I'm not sure what that gentleman is.
Right, you weren't aware that he's out press mode, he's a freelance photographer?
I'm sorry?
You don't know who that is?
No, I didn't know who he is.
Inmediatamente, la segunda calle hacia el sur.
Okay. These guys right here, do you know who that is?
No, I did not.
Okay. Are they protesters?
I can't say with 100% certainty, but he does not appear to be a protester.
You're giving commands to disperse, right? To everybody, right?
Correct.
Right. Did you ever say except for the media? Everybody leave the area except for the media. Did you ever say that?
I did not say that, no.
Okay, right. So these guys are standing here, you're not sure if they're protesters or media, correct? Or people associated with a news organization.
I'm not 100% certain who those people are.
How about this guy?
What I did say is.
I'm sorry, I have a different question. How about this guy?
Don't know.
Member of the media or a protester?
Like I said, I don't know him.
Why are these people closer to you?
One more time to people that are here. I am Lieutenant Mike Dieppa with the MDPD Police Department. The permit to remain and camp on the property has expired and is not been...
Okay.
If you need.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Now, these people that were standing right next to you when you're giving your orders, correct?
Yes, that was people.
The state made reference to where Mr. Miller was when you were giving your orders. Those people are like right next to the gentleman giving the dispersal order, right?
Yes, they are.
Do they have any more rights to be there than anybody else that was there that you were giving the dispersal orders to?
Before I read the dispersal order, the decision
No,
was...
do they have any more rights as Americans than anybody else that was in that crowd that you were giving the directives to?
I'm trying to explain to you so you'd understand the question, or you'd understand my answer. We gave specific directions to the media where they could stand, where they would not interfere with the operation and that was going on. And we put them in the location where you see them. The people that were in front of us were not obeying our order, and therefore the dispersal order was read to those people. But the people on the side that were in a designated area where we had a representative that was in contact with them and would move them and guide them from location, I was not to be concerned with.
That gentleman there, you just said you didn't know who he was.
I didn't know who any of the members of the media are.
You did not put handcuffs on that individual there, correct? The individual that was standing next to you with the camera, and it seemed like some form of identification around.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So you didn't have any conversation with that gentleman at all.
I didn't have a conversation with many members of the media that were there.
Would it be fair to say that it was difficult to determine who was media and who was protester that night?
No.
It was clear as day to you, right?
It was fairly clear and fairly easy to determine for us.
Okay. And it's also your testimony that when Mr. Miller was arrested, he was the only person that was there that was a protester. There was no media when he was arrested, right? No members from the media, news stations, newspapers, no one like that was around Mr. Miller when he was arrested.
I can not tell you with 100% certainty. There were members of the media, again, in the general area that were guided there by our liaisons to the media.
Give me a second, Ron.
Good.
Do you know who Glenn Garvin is?
I'm sorry, what's
Glenn
that?
Garvin,
I do not know who that is.
Miami Herald.
I'm not familiar with that person.
Okay. When you arrested Carlos Miller, do you remember the gentleman that was with the Herald that was right next to Carlos Miller when you were arresting him?
I do not personally recall.
Okay. Did Did you make the decision to arrest Carlos Miller?
No, I did not.
That decision was made by who?
The decision was made by Major Nancy Perez.
Okay, and you, what's your rank?
During that incident, I was the lieutenant in charge of, I was the commander of the Rapid Deployment Force.
Nancy was, I guess, higher ranking than you. She was
She
your boss.
was there as an equal. I am the overall commander of the force, but she's there as the major at what was the time our Media Relations Bureau.
Okay, so she was a major. She was a higher ranking officer.
She is a higher ranking officer, yes.
Okay. And she told you to arrest Carlos Miller. That's what she did.
She pointed out somebody and said this guy needed to be arrested. Yes.
Now, there was an incident on this video, or there was a part of the video, that you see Mr. Miller talking to who you describe as the leader organizer of this protest movement, right?
Correct. One of the organizers.
Now, you guys talked to him too, didn't you? You guys knew who this person, Mohammed Malik, was, right?
Yes.
You,
I was familiar with who he was.
and you had actually spoken to him.
I have, yes.
Okay. And he hadn't given you any instructions, correct?
I'm sorry.
He never gave you any instructions to do anything wrong or to protest. You never received any instructions from him, correct?
I didn't receive my instructions from anybody that was not law enforcement or county government.
Yeah. Now, you told the jury that it appeared like Mr. Miller was receiving instructions from this gentleman, Mr. Malik, correct?
That's my opinion, yes.
You don't know that.
Like I said, it's my opinion.
You're guessing, correct?
I'm just giving an opinion, yes.
All right. You could have been telling them anything. You don't know what they were talking about.
Objection, speculation has been answered.
Sustained.
Did you generate that opinion before you arrested Mr. Miller or after you arrested
Objection,
Mr. Miller?
speculation has been answered.
This was not the arresting officer.
Well, he actually participated in the arrest, but I'll rephrase my question.
All right.
After Mr. Miller was arrested, did you generate that opinion, or did you have that opinion before Mr. Miller was arrested?
The opinion of,
That he was receiving instructions from the leader organizer?
I generated that opinion reviewing the video with you guys here.
All right, so that didn't factor into the decision to arrest Mr. Miller.
No, it did not.
Do you know where Mr. Miller was arrested?
He was arrested, which I'm understanding.
Sure.
Northwest 3rd Avenue. It would actually be south, northwest 1st Street, and along the sidewalk, right, in this general block right here. I'll put a circle for you. This area here.
Okay. Did you mind if I put this video? Sure.
Like everyone else, we watched it happen.
Okay. Who's that thing there on the sidewalk?
Appears to be Mr. Miller.
Okay. What's he doing?
It appears that he's taking a picture.
Okay. Other than that, anything else he's doing?
No.
This guy over here, who's that guy?
I'm not sure who that person is.
Just another guy standing on the sidewalk? As far as you know?
As far as I know, I'm not sure who he is.
Why wasn't the gentleman across the street on the sidewalk arrested?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
Sustained.
You know?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
Sustained.
It's directly relevant, Judge. It's our theory of defense.
You are, all right, the theory of defense, all right, I'll,
The gentleman across the street, he was just standing on the sidewalk. Why didn't you guys just go arrest him?
I cannot answer that. I didn't arrest anybody that night, so I couldn't tell you.
You know if that guy was arrested?
Objection, speculation, relevance.
Only if he knows, Judge.
did you arrest him?
I didn't arrest him.
Okay.
Do you know if he was arrested?
I can't tell you if he was
Where are they going there?
Going back towards the new direction.
These officers, where are they going?
It appears that they're going to block the street that's there along Northwest First Street and
Why?
3rd Avenue.
Why are they blocking the street?
I mean, I can't say because there's city police officers that are mixed in, but I know that once you cross over I-95, you're in a less traffic use area right along the Miami River, and they want these streets that are open along I-95 to be clear of people.
Okay. You guys start walking in what direction? This direction?
Right now, this is First Street. This here is 3rd Avenue.
What's Mr. Miller doing at this point?
I didn't know Mr. Miller is.
Okay. This is getting close to the time when he's arrested.
Yes.
Okay. Who is that you were talking to? Do you know?
The person that just said for your safety, get away, his name is Lieutenant Ed Kaniva,
You know who he was talking to?
and I couldn't tell you who he was talking to.
Wasn't a police officer, correct?
I not imagine he was telling the police officer to get out of here.
Right. Gentleman with the camera following you guys.
That's somebody that's associated with the media.
Why do you say that?
I noticed hanging from his belt or something, a microphone with logos from a media station.
What media station is he with?
The way the picture's blurred, I can't see it.
You don't know.
It was,
You don't know if he's with the media or not. You're just saying that, right?
no, I'm not just saying that. Explain to you what I saw, what I did.
Okay. All right. So you're assuming that he's with the media, and that's your opinion.
Objection, mischaracterization of what the witness just said.
I'm asking if that's his opinion or
Objection
no.
sustained. His testimony was that's a media guy.
You don't know if it's Channel 7, Channel 10.
Objection, relevance.
I don't know what station.
You can, or it's just, objections overruled. Let's move on.
You guys are trying to get people out of that area, right? You had just walked this entire street, and there's somebody following you guys, correct?
Correct.
And, but it wasn't important to the guy following you guys to clear the area.
One thing I explained to you at the beginning, we had Media Relations Bureau police officer liaisons with media staff. Those people escorted media and basically corralled them from location to location throughout the night. If they were walking behind us, they were being escorted by a liaison from the police department.
But you don't know if that gentleman received any of those instructions.
I do know that that gentleman has received those instructions because we don't let anybody come at us from our rear side or the flank. That's
You,
100% against the policy that we implement.
what's his name?
Can't tell you. I can't tell you any of the people's areas, including the police officers.
Okay, was there a list that you guys generated that allowed certain media members to participate or to follow you guys?
I did not generate any of this.
Okay. Did people approach you and say, we're members of the media and we'd like to have special treatment and follow behind you guys? Was that said?
Again, I explained
Specifically.
several times, we had
The
a
question-
liaison with the media, that was
witness
a
could answer.
police
Right.
liaison, and that was, my function was to delegate to the police liaison to make contact with the media and deal with the media. I personally did not deal with any members of the media at any point in time.
It's your testimony, this gentleman specifically was given a special exception to allow you guys
No one was
to
given a
follow.
special exception. Our media relations liaison took people that were there filming that were with media, or that they had followed the instructions and let them go in certain places where the media relations liaison took them.
Okay. How do they identify themselves as media?
I personally can't answer that. I, again, did not talk to any of those members.
So you don't know how somebody identifies themselves as media or not?
I don't work in that part of the bureau. That's why, again, we have a liaison that does work in that section that does that.
Now, this gentleman here, it's Mr. Miller, correct? Right. What's he doing there?
It appears that he's filming, again, the incident.
Okay, we'll stop. Everyone in the building, stand by. Okay, why don't you get on the left? I don't know on this side. You're on the top of this building. I'm on the top of the building. Hold up formation. Hold up formation.
Do you have any idea why he wasn't arrested at that point, at that exact moment?
I'm sorry. Who?
Mr. Miller?
I can't tell you.
Okay. That's who?
That's Major Nancy Perez.
Who's standing next to him?
I can't see anybody next to him.
This gentleman again.
Appears to be the gentleman that I explained to you with the media.
Okay. This gentleman here?
Don't know him either.
Okay. Media?
There's a possibility.
You don't know.
I personally don't know.
This gentleman here?
Again, I do not know.
The gentleman with that camera there, what station does he work for?
I have no clue what station he works for.
And this gentleman either?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
I can't tell you.
All right. That looks like Rick Bravo, isn't it? Do you know?
I personally couldn't tell from the angle that was on the camera.
appears to be a gentleman back here with a helmet that looks a lot like your helmet, and he's got a camera bent down. Do you know if that's a police officer?
I do not know.
All right. You have no idea if that's a police officer or not, correct?
That's correct.
What were police officers supposed to wear that night?
Objection relevance.
So we wait for the defense.
Rick Bravo, who is he?
Rick Bravo is a videographer for the Miami-Dade Police Department.
What was he wearing that night?
To be honest with you, I don't recall. I can't remember.
Okay, if I say police uniform, you don't know.
He was not wearing a official police uniform because he is not a police officer.
Okay.
It's possible he was wearing some police support.
This heavyset gentleman with the white hair, do you know who he is?
No, I do not.
Or were you aware that he works for the Miami Herald?
This gentleman here?
The gentleman in front of him. He's
I
watching
can't
the
even
video.
see him.
Where's Mr. Miller arrested in respects to this shot?
I think you can see from the video, he's arrested maybe 40 or 50 feet south
Right there, right?
of where that gentleman's standing.
That's 40 or 50 feet from where there's other cameramen are, correct?
Correct.
That's 40 or 50 feet from where Mr. Glenn Garvin is, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea why those other people weren't arrested.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And let's keep playing.
I'm not doing anything. I'm not resisting.
Did anybody that was not media that night, that you remember, was they arrested with that much gear?
To my knowledge, I can't say for certain what the people that are arrested had for gear.
Where is Mr. Miller standing?
Sorry?
Where's he standing?
He's standing on the sidewalk along Northwest 3rd Avenue.
What authority do you have to arrest somebody on the sidewalk?
I have authority to arrest anybody anywhere in Miami-Dade County
For whatever you want.
for a violation of Florida state law.
Okay, specifically, standing on the sidewalk, that violates what law?
If the person is being arrested fails to obey a lawful order, which is to disperse and clear an area, and then comes back to an area after they've been ordered lawfully, they resist an officer's commands, and they're arrested for resisting without.
Those people that were there holding cameras that we just referenced, including Glenn Garvin from the Miami Herald, they heard those general disbursement orders also, correct?
I would say yes.
And you never specifically told Mr. Miller that he had to leave the area, correct?
I told everybody.
All right. How does Mr. Miller know that he's being arrested for a different, I mean, you arrest Mr. Miller, but you don't arrest Glenn Garvin, and you justify that based on the fact that this gentleman, Glenn Garvin, is media, and Mr. Miller's not?
I didn't arrest anybody. Somebody was pointed out to me,
as somebody that was going to be arrested. I gave the order to make the arrest.
But it's your opinion he's committing a criminal act.
It is my opinion.
Okay.
And again, I'll follow up with the people that were behind us, that were with media liaisons, were following the instructions of the media liaison. When we pushed everybody south of us, down there on Southwest 3rd Avenue, that was the end of it. We're then going to return, and the people that were coming back behind us were obstructing our official order. The people that were in front of us, going to where we were staging basically the media, and we always have a staging for media, were not resisting our order. They were going where we told them to go.
Specifically, and I'm going to put it in terms of a hypothetical for you. Someone flies in from Telemundo, Mexico, and it's going to film the Occupy Miami event, the day of the incident, and they show up to the incident and they're reporting. How do you let them know that they have to go to a specific media area and follow you guys around?
Objections,
How do they get on the
speculation,
special
to the
list?
form.
If you know,
I don't have a special list, and again, I don't meet with members of the media. I have somebody that works for me that does.
So you don't know. The answer is you don't know.
I personally do not know. No.
Right. So how did you expect Mr. Miller to know? Question was clear. You don't know the protocol for how a member of the media gets on this special group that gets to follow the police around. Did you expect Mr. Miller to know?
I don't expect anybody to know. I expect that everybody follows the commands that are given by the police. The media liaison is a police officer, and those people that listen to the media liaison were not arrested. The person that did not listen to the media liaison was arrested.
Are you aware that Mr. Miller was working for Miami Beach 411?
No, it's not.
Are you aware that his blog was owned by Barnes & Noble?
I didn't even know I had a blog.
Glenn Garvin, that works for Miami Herald, is part of the media. How is he any different, in your mind, from Mr. Miller, in terms of his blog?
I would say in terms of their blog, there is no difference.
They're both media, correct? Forms of media.
They could be construed as forms of media, correct.
Give me a judge. Give me a moment, Judge. Law enforcement was specifically directing your orders towards protesters and people that were in the encampments to leave the government center.
Again, my orders were to everybody that was there at that time.
That would include media, obviously, so except for media.
It-
That was pre-approved.
There was no pre-approved. Media was, obviously, media can film where they want to film as long as they don't cause a problem with the safety or the operation.
Specifically identify the safety issues that Mr. Miller caused that night.
Anybody that walks up behind a police officer that if they don't see it can do them harm.
Okay, so Mr. Miller, in your opinion, was trying to do you guys harm.
I did not say that.
I have no other questions, Judge.
Smith, would you have any?
Yes, Judge.